We are now live. Our first live showing.
So fun.
So fun. We're actually going to give you guys our workout from our 6-week challenge. Specifically today is the complex lifts with the dumbbells. Because of course we're working out from home. And we thought we'd share with you that program in its entirety. We're going to take turns kind of coaching y'all through it. I know some of our challengers have already kind of gone through the workout today and they're sharing some feedback. If you're looking for a workout today, hopefully you're tuning in. We're going to start the session. Coach's instructions as we start the session. Of course, when we log into our app, it's going to ask us how we are feeling going into the workout. Sleep quality. What was your sleep quality like today?
Not awful. Maybe say 3 out of 5.
Yeah, we're going to go with okay. I'm the same. We'll lock that bad boy in there. Of course, getting the pre-workout survey. Mood. I'd say our mood's pretty good. I mean, we just finished a webinar, learning some stuff. My mood's happy. How about you? We're going with happy. Energy. My energy's pretty good. How's your energy?
I'm a little lethargic.
Okay, we're going to hit with the okay. Of course, we're a team here, so we'll measure it as that. Stress levels. 1 being buried, 5 being relaxed.
In between.
Yeah, I'm about an okay too.
Yeah.
Lots going on. Soreness?
I'm very sore.
Yeah, we're both sore, man. I worked out pretty hard yesterday too. Let's be honest. Lock that 2 in there. Pretty sore. All right, coach instructions. We're good to go. Multi-directional movement with some dumbbells. We do have some isolated bodybuilding style exercises in here. But first things first, we're going to get into the warm-up.
Body break.
Body break. Okay. It's important to get the body moving correctly before we start adding forms of resistance. We're going to go through the standing flow exercises that can help us coach through this. And we're just going to go through a flow. First one we're going to do. Stepping forward off the back foot, we're going to propel our hip. Extend through. Both Carrie and myself are actually dealing with a little bit of a hip impingement, so this is a great warm-up tool to create some gradual spacing in the hip joint and all the connective tissues that are sitting very tight and compressed from the sitting position. So we're going to do a couple of these exercises. Remember, we're going to build proper tension through the shoulder blades, proper tension to the knees, and extend with dorsiflexion off the back foot to extend the tightness that's happening. We need about 3 to 5 reps.
I've done like 8.
Perfect. That's per side, of course. Next one. Side loading those joints. Hip joint, ankle joint, knee joint are all going to sit to the side and reach against the grain. Open up the side of our body, getting us ready for those transitions or those side lunges, expanding outside that little compressed position or shape that we constantly hold on.
Ugh, this is such a good butt stretch.
Right. Get that side fascial line primed and ready for all the different directions and lifts we are going to create today. Good.
My shoulder just totally released.
Absolutely. Next one, we'll do a crossover step. Keeping the shoulder blades down and back. Pelvis is engaged. You're going to take that step in front of the other foot. Doesn't need to be aggressive in front. It's actually going to be pretty shallow to the other foot you're keeping planted. Should feel a pull down the kind of internal system of your hip joint and cohesively through your shoulder blades. Again, we just need 3 to 5 per side. As you're seeing, super mobile, kind of tight. Different variations, same goal. Excellent. Okay, next one we're going to do. Opening up the posterior chain, it's been locked down from that sitting position. We'll take a step back. We take a step back, the front foot activates, lifts, and I reach. When I'm going to reach here, I want to keep my back flat. I don't want to round my back, pretend as if there is a string or something pulling my pelvis back into a posterior tilt. Same with my shoulder blades, and I'll reach out of that profile to get a really good stretch off the front leg. Key to this one when I'm doing this, I don't want this foot to cross over aggressively. I want to load the hips evenly, kind of like doing this one. I'm going to keep that foot straight ahead, keep my hip structures pointed outward. The foot lands straight ahead. That's where I'll get the most benefit from that set stretch. Again, 3 to 5. After we do that, now we're actually going to physically and intentionally step around that position we left and do the same type of stretch. Now we get a lateral opening of the hamstring, and the hips are getting that rotational loading sequence. Same rules though, I'm gonna keep my shoulder blades down and back, pelvis outwards, I'm not rounding my back. 3 to 5. Once you get the hang of this, you can almost do an alternating version where you go here and immediately go into one of these bad boys. Here. Good stuff. Okay, and that takes care of the standing flow. When you're using the app, you're on that point, there's an opportunity to just simply hit the check mark and it fills up all that information for you. The next exercise we're going to go through for our warm-up, the T-spine flow rotation series. Have to get our T-spine flowing and turning properly so we don't over-access our lower back, get our feet turned out, and we can strain those when we start moving weight. And if we've been sitting for a long period of time, the mobility can be very limiting. So we're going to go through that said warm-up sequence. First one we're going to do, sitting in our heels and in front of that said space here. From this position, I want to rotate up, opening up that T-spine in a very condensed, compressed position. Again, 3 reps. The rotation should be coming from the upper back when doing this. Breathing in as we rotate up. We can switch sides after that. Different angle here. I'm sitting down from this position. Again, lifting up through here. About 3 reps. Then we flow right into what we call a quadruped position from this head space. Again, when we go to rotate now, we're going to hug our rib cage. When we go to rotate, we don't want our hips rotating with us. Remember, we want the rotation to come solely or isolated from that T-spine area. So when I come up to about perpendicular to where the ground is, I don't want rotation through my hips. I'm trying to earn my rotation through my upper back. And I'll go to where I get that comfortable stretch. I don't have to force anything. I'll come back down. Again, 3 reps. Breathing in as I go up. Probably hear our hips cracking and popping. That's getting back in alignment. After those said 3 reps, almost the same posture, same position, but the hand position changes. And I get a bit of a stretch in the front capsule here, and a little bit more in the mid-back. Can also help stretch out the neck if that's quite tight. So, same idea though. I'm rotating up, breathing in, getting a rotation. Coming from the shoulder blade area or mid-back. Really good way to control your pelvis from rotating with it. Engage your toes. Don't let your toes stay flat. You want to get that engagement of your feet and really sell that distinct neutral position to the hips. After those set 3, we are now done the T-spine flow series. Do our last warm-up sequence. Put a check mark in that app. Keep track of all this stuff. All right. I'll let Carrie take over this next warm-up sequence, which is the elbow to knee lunge. Take it away.
Oh, just because I have good mobility.
Of course.
So if you've done the world's greatest stretch with me before, this is essentially what we're going to be doing, except for we're taking our elbow all the way to the ground for this. If you don't have the entire mobility for this, don't push it. So we're going to take a step forward, getting into our lunge. I'm going to bring my elbow down to the ground. And then I'm going to rotate. Ooh, I just released so many good things.
Absolutely. Now, one thing we typically like to suggest when doing this, we're so used to moving forward and we have that imbalance present in our body where our quads take over. We don't have an ability to kind of control and formulate strength in our glutes and our hamstrings. We all want to build a booty, not only for aesthetics, but just function. So get in the habit of changing some subtleties. Instead of always committing to a step forward here, then loading the joints. Maybe I'm getting in the habit of really accessing a back step where this is getting activated intentionally and consistently. I'm learning that weight distribution, energy, drill, or control. As I'm stepping forward, there's a lot of momentum there and weight. Now I'm formulating strength and balance, stepping back. Good way to kind of take a subtlety out of this and get more from it. Now that we're warmed up, it's go time. So let's get into this particular workout. This workout today is a lot of lifting more than anything. There isn't a lot of dynamic mobility or HIIT style training just to get us lifting. The rest of the program's worth them. First one we're going to do today is the dumbbell bent over row into standing Y curl and also into a Y overhead press complex. So I would recommend heavy-ish, anywhere between 10 and 20 pounds. We got our dial weights here. Oh yeah. Instead of having this huge rack, it takes up a bunch of space. Anyways, as the name suggests, we're going to do a bent over row. The key for bending over or hip hinging is keeping the shoulder blades pinned back, pelvis is pinned back, or not rounding and losing that stability or torque. From the set position, I'm going to wide row, where I keep the integrity of my shape. Let those sink through. When I go to do a deadlift, instead of having my legs locked out and using my lower back, maybe I leverage a little bit of more strength through my heels and my posterior chain so I can slightly lock my hips in, drive through. And then what I'm going to do instead of a regular curl, which reinforces this position, I'm actually going to curl a little wider and finish in a wider position, almost like I'm spelling the letter Y, and then I'll also press overhead. And the key when I'm pressing overhead, I'm still going to recruit a lot of pushing through the ground with my feet. Keep my posture consistent, and I'm not arching or cheating in that sense. Do a set of 8 to 10. No big deal. Carrie would be joining me, but we only have, one set of dumbbells. Keeping everything consistent. Really work on pushing your knees out. Shoulder blades stay down and back throughout as well.
We're still in that position that we're still creating that torque, so we're not losing that intention throughout. His chin is still tucked, so he's not overly leaning forward in anything as well. So we're really just trying to create that intentional pattern throughout all of these exercises.
Intentional usage over a period of time under tension rule is our friend. That's how we're going to get the results and avoid injuries. That essentially takes care of that one. I will put in the check mark. We're going to actually dial in some different weight for each particular exercise. And Ms. Holmstrom is going to take us through the next one.
Yay.
What do we got?
One leg deadlift into same leg front lunge. Ooh.
This one's difficult.
You're a killer.
But relative for our strength.
You still have one weight or two on there?
We're going to go both weights. Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, let's go leg for now. Go from the side. So we're going into a single leg deadlift. And then I'm going to bring this leg forward into a lunge. So, now that you have seen the pattern I'm creating, I'm going to hinge back, getting that full intention, still keeping my shoulders back, and into a lunge.
Key takeaways, I'm always building torque or control and alignment as the shoulder blades pin back. When I need to hinge off of a single leg, you want to try to avoid an over-reliance of rotation in the hip, where this back foot can turn out aggressively and you actually turn on the hip. In order to access that and keep that strong, I want to sell a distinct loading sequence or push my body into a aligned posture. So when she's starting, she pushes her knees out, she actually sits through this hip. That keeps everything symmetrical and aligned in parallel in the parallel movement that we're doing here. Only need about 5 per side, then you can switch it up. In the meantime, I'm just gonna dance in the background, because we're having lots of fun today. Working out should be fun. build a lot of change of direction, speed, works a deceleration drill or eccentrics. A lot of workouts are always designed with that concentric initial burst. Nothing building dexterity, nothing building stability and strength or endurance in the joints and connective tissues, quite like an exercise like this. Need balance, folks. Good stuff. We got that one done. 10 pounds. Next one. Oh.
Checked off.
Checked off. We're going to turn this up a bit. So I get a pretty good workout from this.
Ooh, this is a fun one.
This one's really fun. Now, if you're using the app, again, it'll kind of suggest which weights to use if you're not. It's something new for you. I recommend rather light for this. It's pretty intensive, lots of complexities going on to this. Instead of a regular deadlift, we are going to open up the angles slightly. So I went up to 20. I would suggest anywhere between 10 and 20 per arm. Regular deadlift, I stand over my hips and I would just simply hinge. For this one, we're taking a bit of a wider stance. From that said wider stance, same rules apply. I want to work eccentric again, where I'm loaded slowly on the way down. And then as I transition out of that, I'm doing a curtsy lunge. Even when I'm doing the curtsy lunge, you notice I keep my chest level relatively the same. So from this angle, take a step through, slight bend in the knee is okay. I step back, I run out of space here, but we drive through that said posture. You just stay on the same leg. Set at 5 to 7 again. Each time controlling the momentum, not swinging out of this, and the exercise essentially taking me for a ride. I'm in control. So slow and steady always wins the race, especially when you're doing dynamic lifts such as these.
And when we're getting into more of that unilateral movement, that single leg, when we're getting into the curtsy, we don't want to have our heel coming up off the ground because then we get a little bit unstable. So if you try to really press through your heel, but we're not fully bringing the toe up off the ground, you're going to have a lot more stability as you're going into that.
Absolutely. You need to create a strong statuesque post on this and naturally allow the knee to move in the direction of the weight and the swing you're creating in your body. In this case, this knee's going to go out with me because I don't need to fight that instance to keep it strong. To a certain degree, obviously, you're not going to swing it crazy out, but keeping it stable and really deceleration is the key here.
Time under tension.
Yeah. The other HIIT programs develop ballistic, explosive energy to balance it out during the week again. Eccentric work's going to be a big deal. So those tissues don't get overstimulated with momentum and speed and they break down. Still need strength training. Good stuff. What's next?
Ooh, front and sideways is my favorite.
Going back to basics, folks.
Some shouldies.
The cool thing about these quote-unquote basics, you can actually get creative. So say we only had a set of bands. We didn't have dumbbells. We could definitely do an exercise like this. Okay? So take it away, Carrie.
So I'm still in my loaded position, creating that intentional force and torque. And I'm going to start with a front raise, nice and slow on the way down. And then we're going to go into the side. What I'm looking for here is that I am not just swinging my weights about. I really want to have that intention and control through here. We're going to go for about 8 reps.
When she says 8, she means per exercise, or you could count both as 1. Now, if you're using my version, you're just simply going to stand on a band or tension. More tension would obviously involve you standing with both feet on the said band, less tension with one foot, same rules. You may find bands actually a little bit more useful because you feel the tension both ways. But if you're kind of newer to the game, stick to dumbbells. Again, her weight usage is probably anywhere between 5 to 15 pounds. You don't need a ton of weight.
I was just specifically using 10.
She's strong like a bull. Excellent. Moving on. One thing we forgot to mention because we just kind of got in there. This program's pretty long with lots of exercises. You don't have to do the whole thing as per it through the app. There's about 15 moving performance exercises. You're gonna choose about 10, but we're gonna show all 15 for today. All right. Okay. Going back to the DLs, we're keeping it on the DL.
Because a strong posterior chain is important.
Exactly. We don't have a lot of variation. We're not in gyms running and this and that, so we want to learn how to hip hinge and keep the tension through our posterior chain. It's a little bit more of an advanced movement again, instead of just a regular old deadlift, because if we talk about life and it's encompassing movements, it's very rare we move in a bilateral position where both feet or both positions of our footprint are symmetrical. It's very common we're offset. So that's what this next exercise is going to demonstrate here. I'm going to go heavy so I get a good burn.
Ooh, we got a staggy coming up.
Yeah. We're hitting it. We're going to go with the Kickstart Deadlift, okay? Now this is going to put a lot of force or tension onto the front loaded leg. So we want just slightly off center. So if my feet were symmetrical in this position, it's kind of hard to tell from that angle. What we're going to do, instead of here, I'm going to take one leg back slightly. You see the gap here, it's not aggressive, right? It's literally just about here. Same rules as a regular deadlift. Now you're really going to feel the torque of that front leg. And it's a negative deadlift, so start back, and I'm going to start from the ground, start from the top and go make my way down. So out of that set position, give everything nice and tensioned. I load through.
About a 3 to 5 count on the way down, depending on how fast you're counting. And notice how as he's coming down, at no point do his knees cave in. He is creating that intentional tension.
Correct. Remember, we want to keep the muscle groups, the connective tissues loaded. As soon as we lose the integrity of our position, we give up, everything falls into place. The momentum almost loads our joints. Our goal is to load muscle tissues. Okay, joints just hold everything intact. Don't want to fry the joints, we want to fry the muscles. After 3 to 5, same idea on the other side, just switching stance. And you notice I keep the shape of my shoulder blades where these aren't moving a lot too. Best way to cue that, feel like you're bending a bar towards you. Take your wrist and physically pull them inward. Woo! Holy hamstrings, bad man.
Mm-hmm.
You have to turn on that fan. Just kidding, you wouldn't hear us then. Last one. Excellent. Now, if this is new to you, don't go heavy for this one. It's about time under tension and quality reps. Anywhere between 10 and 25 pounds.
Hip bridge with 3 chest exercises.
Excellent.
Are you going in for a press and a fly? What else? What was the third one?
We've got ourselves an overhead extension for this particular exercise, a press, and then a fly. The reason we add the hip bridge component into this exercise, we all have a tendency and consistency of sitting into this particular posture. We start leading into that said posture when we're doing presses and stuff. We're not going to fix that issue. It can lead to chest injuries and actually a plateau in growth. So to help promote that position, which Carrie will show us here, instead of being flat, she's going to actually bridge up her hips here. And when she's bridged up, now she's able to create the tension necessary for keeping her hips in a neutral position. And from this said neutral position, now she can reinforce a push, but earning that posterior chain tension or retractability. So she'll create a press, an overhead pull where she's bringing her arms behind her. This one's pretty difficult, so do it very slow. If you have any crazy shoulder injuries, that might be one you refrain from. And then we do our fly. Whole time throughout this particular sequence, she's bridging and earning that tension, really earning her footprint. You may not be able to see from that angle. Her feet don't turn out any offset position. They stay directly ahead. And she creates tension or torque in her hips by pushing her knees out. All 3 count as 1. We're going to do about 5 to 7. Excellent. 2 more to go. Again, this one, because you are working for a longer period of time, and again, we don't have a gym right now, we're making the most. We're adding all 3 into 1, 3 different types of exercises for the chest. Can be pretty taxing, so you don't need a lot of weight for this particular exercise, anywhere between 10 and 40 again, depending on strength and experience. Good? Continuing on. All right. This one's super duper fun. And because it's quite difficult, we're going to keep the weight low. Whole lot of exercise going into one again, making the most of what we have going on right now. This is going to be our dumbbell bent over row into a front squat with the weights loaded, and then we're going to step into a side lunge. So, same rules apply when I'm building torque and alignment and controlling posture. I never want to get lazy. My knees are flexing out, not necessarily my feet. I'm going to hinge in front, and when I'm hinging, I'm still keeping that tension or rapport of tension. I'm going to do 2 rows. Then I can either do a clean or just simply bring these up, keeping this rack loaded in front, pulling the elbows in tight, shoulder blades are back. I do 2 squats. Remember when squatting, try to keep your chest relatively high and push your hips back and shove your knees out. Try and almost squat between your hips. And then finally in this same loaded position, I'm going to do a side lunge from back, that tension point, and a side lunge on the other side. All that'll count as 1, and get 5 to 7 here. Now, if you're someone like myself who's had countless injuries, somewhere in the ankles, and the knees, and the hips, you may find that your footprint wants to change dynamically when squatting. That's when it's super important that you're recruiting that torque. You try to refrain from this foot moving aggressively. If that's something that happens consistently, it's maybe an exercise you remove, and you would find some accessory or rehab-esque exercises to fix that imbalance or dysfunction, because it could lead into injuries later. That would be for another day though. And we could definitely help you out with that another day, or if you want to message us. Any cues to add there, Carrie?
I just want to say, when he goes into his squat, notice how he's not getting a full extension of the hip. So I know a tendency when we're learning is we're coming down in our squat, and then we want to come all the way up and squeeze the glutes. But we actually don't need to get into that full extension for the hip. We just want to keep that tension here.
Great tips. Getting that synergy with our body. See how I threw that in?
Oh, that's so funny.
Ha ha! All right.
I'm a comedian here.
Of course, we're having fun. Excellent.
Checked off. Curl, rotational curl, standing hammer, bent over concentration curl.
Have you tried this one yet?
I have not tried this one.
I'll
You're going to
demonstrate.
coach me through?
Yeah, I can coach you through. Maybe watch the video real quick. That's the cool thing about the app. If you're unsure, there's an exercise right there for you with the video example. Tells you how to do it.
Tell me.
I could show you too. Why not? So we're just adding a whole bunch of different curl mechanisms, of course, because we want to build a bicep that's full.
This is a lot of recruitment.
Oh yeah, bicep that is full, doesn't develop like kind of like a sausage where it's really narrow. We're getting some strength internally and externally, and we're trying to burn calories. So of course, we do different types of postures for this set exercise. So I'll demonstrate the first one, and Carrie will take it away. We want to start with a new type of curl instead of just always going like this and recruiting here. We're going to start here and go around the weight. If you notice, you get a little bit of wrist rotation. I'm going to do 2 of each for this particular sequence. Really slow when I'm turning out not letting these flare out. I'm not losing the recruitment of my tension, right? Even when I'm standing, I'm always recruiting those set posture points. Then I'm going to hinge in front, almost like doing a clean. I'm going to come up and curl. Then finally, I'm going to hip hinge again and do essentially what is a concentration curl. From this position, I'm going to curl, and when I curl, I'm not going to let this come flaring out. It'll stay underneath me, shoulder blades are down back. I curl, trying to pull the pinky almost outside part of my elbow. Do the same on the other side. And I'm refraining from a lot of swing. Then I'll come back up. So all three count as one. And I'm coming through, a hinge, hammer curl, and finish concentration curl. Carrie's going to take it away.
So on the first one, you're doing 2.
Doing 2.
So silly.
The rim's so silly.
We'll get that external rotation.
Yeah, we want to build grip strength globally. We're going to use a little bit of momentum. It's kind of like doing a clean when we do the bent over hammer curl. Since we're doing quite a few repetitions, quite a few different variations of curls, we don't need a lot of repetitions, I should say. Again, 5 to 7 is the rep count here. Feeling the burn. I better get tickets to the gun show. Hey.
Oh dear, bad jokes over here.
Yeah. And this is what I meant as we scroll through the next particular exercise. We don't need to do every single one because the next one's just going to be a strict standing arm curl. Last round here.
Try not to take you out here.
And we'll go over a classic old school exercise and make sure we're getting the most intention from it because, you know, you may have seen people do arm curls, but are you doing it correctly? Good stuff. Excellent. Okay. So, I'm going to pick up Carrie with an alternate way of doing this again. Oh, you choose. This one's light, this one's medium, you choose. We're doing arm curls, just regular old arm curls. We're going to coach you how to do them properly. That would be the next exercise. In this app, I'll stick to the same weight just for demo purposes. Now, what can happen with people when they're doing arm curls, they simply go through the motion, they've seen people do it, and they start doing something like this. Okay? You're really missing that last component of an arm curl if it finishes in front of your chest like this. You get that noticeable position, you're not earning the full grip strength and the full bicep pop by simply missing this subtlety. When I get up to the top, I'm going to take this pinky and push it to the outside part of my shoulder and not let my wrist bend. So I'm going to keep my wrist nice and strong. And the same rules apply when I'm earning posture. Elevator down and back, shuffle my knees, abs are tight. And then I'll squeeze and twist. That way I'm getting that time under tension and the actual pop I'm looking for through my bicep. I went pretty light, so I'm going to do a set of 12 on each side. Carrie's going to do the same thing, but she's using a band. With that set band, you're going to feel tension both ways. A little bit more advanced. Definitely an awesome exercise to keep those biceps rolling, popping. Remember, you're adding those subtleties for full effectiveness or efficiency. If you're new to the workout game, go light. It's all about form. This is something new for you. Crank those bad boys up, less repetitions. Light, 10 to 15 per side. If we're going heavy, my rep range can dial down from 6 to 10. When we're doing this set program, and a lot of the programs that we suggest, you're going to run through a circuit and then start from the beginning again for your second set, rather than sitting on one exercise and trying to get it done. That way you're getting that cardio and you're just moving. How many more you got?
I don't know, I wasn't counting. Not
I was! We got 2 more each, okay? Her arms are probably dead. This 2 back to back, so.
It's fine.
She's fine. Good. Excellent. What's next on the list? We'll check mark that bad boy through. We got. This is where it gets really fun. Have you tried these yet? The lateral. I think I made you do this one.
I think you did,
Yeah. Jerry's gonna figure it out. See if you guys are. This one's pretty dynamic.
Just 1 or 2?
We'll need both. We're gonna go light. I would stick to that. It's something new. So, if you've ever done a clean before Olympic lifts, that involves us creating lots of momentum and a pendulum force, where the ankle joint, knee joint, hip joint all extend. Once I get the length of that, the pendulum wants to come out, I actually turn it over right away and pull it in tight. It's a very explosive, ballistic exercise. Well, we're gonna take it up another notch. Instead of staying in this confines here, we're gonna step to the side and create the same type of tension swing. We're earning some dynamic, change the direction, strength, and now we're ladding.
Multiple planes of movement.
Exactly, okay? So, remember tension points stay the same no matter whether I'm narrow or I'm standing wide. I still wanna apply the same principles. Shoulder blades are down and back, knees are out. I step here. After I got this angle, I'm gonna kick my hips through and earn that rotation. Turn it over, land on my squat. We'll do the same on the other side. Turn it over, land on my squat. Same on the other side. Take it away.
Yay. Love it.
And drive. Good. Now she's coming out of that set position. She's gonna immediately commit to the squat. Had an injury before, you can take a split second like she did. Wait, earn your stability, your tension, then commit to that depth. Good. She'll use the swing momentum from her hips. Let these shoulders move on their plane here to create that tension point. Pretty hard exercise. Lots of stuff is committing and working throughout the whole set, so you don't need a lot of repetitions. Again, we're talking anywhere between 10 and 16 tops. That's in total. Both sides are 1 rep individually, so 1, 2, and so forth. Let's go 4 more. Check mark that bad boy off. Last one. Good. All right. So for our next exercise, again, going back to more strict, almost like dumbbell bodybuilding structure, we're gonna do a bent over reverse fly. So, like you demonstrate with the dumbbells, I'll grab the alternative version, which would involve us using a band of some sort. Now you're obviously gonna have a set of bands, hopefully. They have varying forms of tension. For the demo purposes, I'm going to use a light to medium one. Hopefully you have color-coded ones that have different tension points, but the rules stay the same. We're hip hinging, and when we're in this set position, Carrie, what are we doing?
We're still creating tension through the shoulder, so we're not rounding through here. We want to essentially lead the exercise with our elbows. So we're not actually trying to just muscle up this weight.
You want to keep.
And we're really controlling this on the way down. We're not just swinging back and forth.
Atta girl. What she said. Now, if I had a band, there's going to be tension both ways. Same rules apply. One thing I would recommend with the dumbbells, she keeps her knuckles flush with the ceiling. With the band, it may change, and now the back part of your fist is going to reach up because you're trying to recruit a new position where you have retractability and depression of the shoulder girdle to get away from this. And you're earning strength where you can control and articulate the proper position or stability of your shoulder in this position, and so forth. So I would take an overhand grip, hip hinge, and I'm trying to pull out here. My wrists stay flat. I'm almost like trying to start a motorcycle, and that's going to really recruit the right alignment and the new strength I probably need in the ability to depress the shoulder girdle. It's leads into all the other stuff we were talking about. Proper alignment and stability of our shoulder blades. Keep our posture from getting overloaded or overstimulated from weight in front of us. Involves us the ability to create proper shoulder blade tension. So exercise like this will help that a lot. I'm just pulling through, same rules, no swing. dumbbells, you will create a bit of a swing. Good stuff. You can put 3 sets in here if you want. Get real. Oh! Gary's legs are pretty fried. She went a little harder than I did yesterday. So I'll demo this, hopefully. Hopefully I don't die. This one's tough. It's real tough. Okay?
I mean, if any of you did the workout yesterday, you know.
Yeah, we all know how ridiculous some of this is, but that's how we get results. Okay, I'm going to take this down real light now. This is something new for you. You don't need weight. This is pretty intense. Kind of taking those properties or structures of a deadlift and really putting them on full display here. This is the levitating lunge. We can create a lot of good tension points and ballistic points when we're just running and expressing movement. We can't decelerate that and be in control of it. For a period of time, if there's any form of dysfunction, injuries can occur. So how are you going to train it out? Earning a posture and a shape, creating consistent control out of that. So this is going to be our levitating lunge. This leg stays curled. I'm going to reach this hip back-ish, so I'm not collapsing in on my strength. I'm keeping my hips loaded. My core stays strong. Arms are up in front of me. I hold on to this posture for as long as the body will allow. And then I come back up. The key is this stays engaged. I'm earning that shape. Shoulders are getting work, core is getting work, legs are getting work. Earning that proper hip alignment and strength or dexterity. Posterior chain strength. And as you can see, the slower tempo, time under tension is going to be our friend.
If you've also done Torian's metabolic conditioning program, you will have seen this one before.
And cursed me then. Curse again.
God awful. I swore at him all day on Monday.
Okay. So, holding this posture again. This is my injured side. So you may see a difference. That's okay. Just apply the rules. Work as best as you can. Remember when loading this, it's always try keep the weight situated down your core so you're not aggressively leaning forward. Not aggressively leaning back, somewhere in between. But you do want to take this leg and bring it back slightly. So you refrain from doing this, and your joints load. Arms stay out. Loading through the hips prior. Always want to engage things and be in control prior. Then I execute. Last one for me. I have 5ers up here, and they feel like 50s. Woo! And that's our levitating lunge. What's next?
Ooh, a bent over tricep kickback. That's fine.
Carry special again, going back to kind of more basics. You notice we've done a lot of hip hinging, so it's important to earn that control mechanism or control arm through our hips and build core strength in a subtle way. So take it away. Show us how to do that tricep kickback.
So very similar to what I showed you in that bent over reverse fly, we're going to get ourselves into a similar position. Essentially the way you're going to start is with a row. So we're going to have all of the tension created. I'm not rounding through here. My chin is fully tucked, but I tend to get into some bad positions once in a while. And then we're going to kick our arm back. Okay, big thing here, and I know as we get heavier weights or more fatigue, we end up just like swinging back and forth to get through it. So really try and control on the way down.
As you can see, she's keeping the tempo consistent throughout. She's getting a bit of the shakes. That's what we want, and you know your body's actually intentionally working. You don't want to just kind of go through the motions and not get those results. It's going to take work, but earning these kind of important, integral, I guess, prerequisites will really change the results for you and allow you to actually see intentional results. Don't get lazy. Apply these strategies that execute. Good stuff. The tricep kickback. Z kickback. 10 reps is good. She went with 10 pounds on each side. Pretty formidable challenge. All right, next one we're gonna do.
It's not 15s like it used to be.
Right? Now you'll get there. See? You'll get there. Okay. Getting back more into the functional style of things, I'm gonna crank this bad boy up. This is a pretty difficult exercise, okay? We're gonna look at a global row now if we talk about anatomy in its full entirety. You know, when we're rowing stuff, when we're doing things, when we're pulling, where do those muscles originate? Right into the glutes. So typically speaking, when we're first learning how to even create a proper row, you don't want to add the encompassing dynamics of a rotation. But if you've done some exercises before, and you're finding that you're hitting a plateau, or you want it to be useful in like a sport where I'm reaching and pulling, I have to add some form of rotation in there. So that's what this exercise is. We're going to look at the global row. Now, lots of rules have to be applied here. I don't take a regular lunge position. I actually stand a little longer, as if I'm doing a long rack row, which you might have seen in previous programs from us. But this time I need to rotate over this leg. So when I rotate, I don't hinge aggressively. I hinge enough that I'm hip hinging, I'm not falling flat, and there's some tension here, and I go around the knee. I don't need to go deep below the knee, I just need to go around it. This is why we want to get in the habit of training this, because this is where this set pull originates from the set position. I'm going to use this leg to pull and start to rotate at the same time. When I get to that finishing posture, what am I focusing on? Hips go the opposite way as my pull. And I earn that full encompassing contraction through the actual pulling muscles that are designed throughout my body cohesively. So, sitting to that hip, I'm going to pivot, shoulder blades are down and back, I'm not getting lazy, and when I pivot, I commit to the pull. This is pretty advanced. That back foot's going to stay engaged where it doesn't stay flat and I lose the control of my hip. So go light for this one. You don't need to go heavy. This exercise was actually patented or brought into the bodybuilding world by one of the best, the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He said, hey dude, girls here, I want bigger lats, I want bigger, stronger pulling muscles. What if I add a rotation? Boy, was he right. Okay, so hinging through, shoulder blades are down and back, pivot, and pull. Keeping those strong tension points where nothing gets lazy throughout the set. Abs are tight, pivot off of this. You notice this back arm is doing something, it's not sitting up. If I do this, I'll have a tendency to let my shoulders round. So it's good to engage it to some degree. In my case, hand goes behind me. Now everything's engaged and stays strong and consistent. I'm doing about 6 to 8 per side, and I switch. Talk about a full body workout. You're gonna feel in your back, but you're definitely gonna feel in your legs, core, and what's an extension of a pull pattern? Your biceps. Okay, they're one and the same. They create pulls and grip. We want all those things working together. This is serious.
Yeah, if this exercise is not doable for you, I would even just say start with a regular bent over row. And with the patterning of this, really just try and bring the elbow back like you're tucking it into your pocket, and you'll get a little bit more rotation all the way down to basically your glute. And that's where our lats do like to attach into.
So a lot of injuries are coming because of the fact that we're typically overextended on the lower back, and that limits the ability to actually pull, and our pulls turn into this. So all these exercises and these subtleties are to recreate a proper pull pattern where you're not having the ability or inability to really stack your shoulder blades back, keep retraction, and earn all this strength that you need. So these subtleties will help. Good stuff.
Valuable teaching moments.
Of course. Okay, this one's fun too. We have the dumbbell stationary sprints. This is another one where you don't need a lot of weight. This is as close as it's going to get to HIIT training for this particular program. Carrie, have you done this one before?
I don't think so, but I can be taught.
Of course she can, just like you guys are. Okay, I'll go through a quick demo. We all get into some form of running at some point. Maybe we don't like running as much, but for our athlete, well, guess what? We're running and we want to create the proper tension without too much rotation and injury. We have to master the same type of shoulder girdle activation that should be in sync and have the same power as our lower body, and a lot of times that doesn't work. So it's important to throw it in your training regimen. So the stationary arm sprint in that case, will create that type of swing. And if you notice, I'm recruiting behind here, where I have that drive force that pulls me down. And when I come up, the other arm's switching over, and I'm pulling that arm here. But it's not necessarily just coming from my bicep, it's coming from my shoulder girdle, where I get forward rotation, and it's like a pull down, I'm pulling. And once I get the hang of it, I'm gonna do it with speed. And if I'm moving linear, does it serve me to have a lot of rotation? Not necessarily. So your goal, keep your body posture straight, let this pivot, and try not to rotate. Just let it swing for us. And you'll feel this everywhere. Core, shoulders, chest, arms.
Can't wait.
Ooh, I can't wait. Okay? And we're doing this for time, right? You couldn't really call out those repetitions. Rather, we'll do it for time. We're going light here, like 5 pounds. And again, she's going to refrain from a lot of bounce if she's finding that she's bouncing a lot. What's one thing she can do? Bend the knees a little bit. She's still shoving her knees out to the side as well. She's squeezing her glutes, her core is tight. And even as she's swinging, there is a little bit of forward extension or flexion through the shoulder blades, but her shoulder blades are staying here when she recruits back.
Is it time yet?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good core exercise too. Okay, you're syncing timing in properly with your legs. Good stuff. And that's essentially the program. So we've gone through one circuit. We've gone through one lap, if you will, showing all the exercises that could be combined in a dumbbell complex workout. The other ones we did for the week, which we'll demo at some point, involve a lot of HIIT training with a lot of agility. Can't always train that paradigm or that situation, so you do have to go back to lifts just to create dexterity, endurance, and obviously strength in the body. That's an aesthetic thing too, right? Why wouldn't we do both? So
To
lifting.
train to look good naked.
Exactly, we want to lift too.
But it's
So-
not all about that.
Right. So it's all about like balance, right? So the program that we've designed or the challenge that we've designed has components of mobility training to help with your range of motion and your understanding of your body in dynamic positions, awkward positions, if you will, shapes and postures.
Yeah.
The HIIT training where you're getting the metabolic rate very high and a lot of change of direction. Being an athlete in a small confined space makes me relative or strong and functionally strong if I want to go hike a mountain, play some sports, whatever that may be. And then a program such as this.
Yeah,
Where
we
it's like-
definitely got those rest and recovery days programmed in there for you because
Yeah.
I know a lot of the time, rest day, and then we kind of just sit and do nothing.
Right.
It's important to actually get that mobility and even some stretching and movement in there just to keep everything moving.
Absolutely. You want to flush that soreness. You don't want it sitting and storing in your body. That inflammation is a sign that, you've worked hard and you want your body to recover. If you get stiff and sore, then you want to jump into a dynamic program like this, risk goes up. So on a rest day, especially if I want to get to my goals quicker and understand my body and its space and its movement, I don't have to go through an aggressive amount of lifts. I'm simply just earning certain postures, and we call it articular rotations. We're earning some from a subtle rotation where the rest of our body is mastering alignment of posture. It makes a big difference. Cool. So thanks for tuning in today. Probably going to try to save this recording if we can, so you guys can watch again sometime. And stay tuned for some more. We're definitely going to share more from this program and just programs in general. I know we're all still stuck at home. Unfortunately, we're making the most of it, right? We got to adapt. Got to do our thing. We can't just sit around and hope for things to get better. We simply got to move and do. Any last closing statements for the crowd here?
I killed 2 crazy workouts in the last 2 days, and I was feeling super stiff and sore, and just this little bit of movement has already started to break some of that up for me. So it's important to just keep moving, especially even if you have any sort of injuries. Yes, to some degree you want to immobilize, but a lot of the time getting it back in there, rehabbing and moving is going to definitely help create that space and get it working.
Absolutely. I just left a comment when you're using the app. You can leave a comment. Commented on our training. I said, hey, it was amazing. Thanks, coaches.
We're thanking ourselves.
We're thanking you too for tuning in. Right? You guys are the reason why we're doing this stuff. So thank you very much.
All right, guys. Any questions, comments? Slide into our DMs. We'll be happy to
Definitely
help
right
you
in
out.
there. Yeah. Sounds good, guys. Have a good day.